Ahead of next month's smacking ban coming into force in Scotland, the first in the UK to ban smacking, actually, new government guidance has been published which calls on people there to call 999 if they see someone smacking their child. In an exclusive Loose Women poll, we asked you if you would actually do this and report it to the police, and a quarter of you said that you would. Brenda, would you call the police if you saw someone smacking their kid?
I wouldn't. I absolutely wouldn't, no. But,
why?
Well, because you don't know what the circumstances are, you know. I have to say, I wasn't raised with smack, I was raised with bud up. It was called bud up.
You need to explain that, you need to explain.
And the bud up is, you know, you sort of like, if you do something, you just get bud up. Anything can come flying around any corner at any point in time. And, you know, my grandmother's motto, if you can't hear, you must feel. So it's like, if you're saying something to a child and they don't hear, and then you're saying it, and the child willfully knows, you know that child knows what they're doing, and they still continue to misbehave or ignore you, a little tiny smack, I don't think does any harm. I mean, I got bud upped and I haven't turned out too badly. Oh, you're questioning that?
I'm not saying you turned out too badly.
But I think when I used to get smacked, you know, I would remember the smack, and then it would make me not misbehave because I remember the smack. So it did have some sort of effect on me.
Yeah, but then you'd only have ever been smacked once if you didn't misbehave after that. And you clearly didn't just get smacked once, did you?
No, you got bud upped. You got bud upped left, right and centre.
I mean, Kelly, when it comes to your kids, for example, where do you sit in the step? Do you smack your kids currently?
No, I decided when I had my children that I wasn't going to introduce smacking to them because I was smacked as a child, and my mum, she won't even mind me saying this, she was brutal. That slipper would come up around the stairs and still catch me. Don't ask me how she did that. But yeah, so I used to have quite heated debates with my parents, especially my dad, because my dad was like, oh, you know, you should be disciplining Regan like when he was becoming a toddler, you know, terrible twos. He came with all, you know, the full package of behaviour that is normal for a 2-year-old. But I was kind of, you know, I was very firm in the fact that I didn't want my children to be smacked because of what I went through as a child. So we did have to have those heated discussions and debates. And my dad was like, well, he's behaving like this because you're not disciplining him properly or you're not smacking him. And I was like, well, there's more than one way to discipline a child.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's a good point here to look at the rules where across the UK. It'll be banned in Wales from 2022. And actually, currently, it's illegal for a parent or carer to smack their own child except where it amounts to reasonable punishment. Now, Judi, when it comes, I think we'll all agree that we were all smacked as children, that much what we know for fact. But do you think there's an element of perhaps parents losing control as a reason why they smack?
Yeah, definitely. You know, as what, you know, Brenda was saying, you said the bud off, isn't it?
Yeah,
and for me, the tomp, because there's a tomp as well. The tomp is the next level. But I think there is, you know, when I think about when I was younger, yes, I got smacked. And I think there's a difference between smacking, beating and all the rest of it. And that needs to be defined. But I definitely think there's a possibility and things that I've seen that as parents sometimes, within that smack, within that beat, you lose control because there's other frustrations. You know, it could be a simple thing like your child breaking something and you're smacking them because they didn't listen to what you told them earlier. But behind that is, how am I going to afford to pay for this again? I've told you this before. I've had an argument with your dad. You know, I was late for work. There's so many other things that are layered onto that smacking.
You shouldn't necessarily take that out on your children.
Exactly.
Though. You shouldn't be doing that. I mean, do you smack your children?
No, I don't. I don't have to smack them because I give them the look. Yeah.
Sure, yeah. Even I'm scared, Judi. Even I'm scared.
Or you know what? It's like you're like, who's that? So and that has come from like my parents, and I do question. You know, some people say, "Oh, this is extreme," but I wonder if, obviously, if there's a connection to how the black community and African community through slavery and stuff, where we was beaten so many times. I feel like that's something that we've learned is how you can control a situation.
And in terms of it being a generational thing, I mean, I don't smack my kids. I'm very much like you. I use a look.
Yeah.
And my ones get the look, and they know that when that look comes out, they need to behave themselves. But as modern parents in 2020, knowing that we know there are other ways to discipline our children, should we still be doing smacking? necessarily.
Well, obviously, I've learnt my lesson from that, and you know, and with me, I now get pulled up because I confiscate. You don't smack, you confiscate.
Yeah.
And my children have told me that confiscation works better than any smacking or any look, or, you know, because they're not getting that gadget that they want. It's taken away for indefinitely. So, you know, there are other routes to go.
I mean, my brother, both me and my sister were smacked, but my younger brother wasn't, because by that point, I think my parents sort of thought, actually, there are other ways to do this. And Kelly, in terms of finding other ways to do this, you did a lot of reading into how to do the discipline thing, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I've got to thank Super Nanny. She was amazing. Jo, she was brilliant. I used to watch her and just find and read and lots of blogs and books of alternative ways of managing children's tempers and tantrums and things like that, and just learning things like the step, which works really, really well. I find it a really effective, time out on the step to think about what you've done. And the important part is then once that punishment has been delivered, 1 or 2 minutes, it has to be sort of age appropriate. But you then bring that child back to explain the reason why they have been punished. And hopefully there's some kind of learning and understanding and education that they get from that punishment, rather than just a smack, sent to bed, and no explanation for that. And in some ways, trauma, like for me, goodness me, I've got those things ingrained in my head. Those experiences are just ingrained. And, don't get me wrong, I think my parents did an amazing job of raising me. Have I got manners and all of those kind of things? Yes. But there's just more than one way to get the same, result.
I'll be real though, when the Super Nanny thing first came out, a lot of the black community was like, time out? Time out? No.
That is very true.
I think that what Kelly said is regards to, there's always been, I think, within, the West Indian and African community, it's about having that manner. So to actually question and tell a child, well, this is a reason. It was like, I'm a parent, I don't have to tell you why. But, regards to what you're saying about your brother, you brought up your brother. Did you ever think about...
No, because by the time my mum passed away, we were very much into a rhythm of not smacking him. And he's one of the most polite and wonderful. I still call him a boy. He's almost 30, but I still call him my little boy. He's the most, he's brilliant, and we never ever had to strike him once. We just did what Kelly said. Actually, if he did something wrong, we'd explain why it was wrong and deal with it in that way. But loads of you have been getting in touch online about this, and some incredible comments regarding sort of going to the police with that law change in Scotland, and as to whether you'd call the police if you saw someone smacking. And a lot of people saying, I would mind my own business unless I felt it went beyond a certain point, which is what Angela here is saying. Sue said a very similar thing. So you can still get involved in that online.